I'm Shannon.
And I'm Kim.
And you are listening to From Ring to Veil,
a wedding planning podcast,
where we share tips and information to help you plan the wedding of your dreams.
Without all the stress.
Unique Wedding Ceremony Rituals, episode number 121.
We want to remind you that we will be at the Rustic Bride Northwest Expo on May 7th at Dairyland in Snohomish. Come see us. We will have a booth ready and our mics ready, and we want to talk to you.
We might even have a little bit of surprises for you. You never know.
That's right. So come see us May 7th. 1 to 5, I believe, is the time.
So today we're talking about unique wedding rituals.
Yes.
Some of these are kind of out there.
Yes.
Some of these are like riddled in history and, you know.
There's reasons for them. I think some of these were just made up on the fly. We just thought it'd be a fun thing to explore and see what's going on out there and let you guys know you have some options.
Right. If you want to add something to your wedding ceremony that means something to you. Mm-hmm.
Now, we all know about like the sand ceremony and the Unity candle and things like that. So these are a little bit different than those.
Right. So the first one is handfasting. We've seen it. You know kind of what it's about. Mm-hmm. If you ever watch Outlander.
Or read it.
You know, Jamie and Claire, they had a handfasting ceremony.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, it was originally a pagan ritual,
right?
But that the Scottish people really took to.
Mm-hmm. And it kind of came in with the Catholic religion as well, since they were a Catholic country.
Right. Well, see, that's what surprised me about it, was that they're Catholic, yet they had this pagan ritual in their weddings.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a mix.
Mm-hmm. And I've seen it a lot in Hispanic ceremonies too, where they do a full-on mass, where they call it lassoing, kind of not really hand fasting, but it's a lasso, which is basically hand fasting.
Right, makes sense. So, just a different way to tie it instead of a ribbon. Mm-hmm. So basically, you're putting your hands together, and then your officiant will
ties them together.
Tie them together,
and then you stay that way forever.
Yeah. And I guess in some countries, hand fasting means you're married. Mm-hmm. You don't even have to really go through the other rituals. But again, if you're Catholic or something, then you would have to have a Catholic wedding for the Catholic Church to recognize that as a real wedding.
This next one's really creepy to me. I don't really like this one. It's called ring warming. We've seen it. When we researched this, we were looking at it like, what?
I don't find it as creepy, but it is interesting, and I understand the sentiment behind it.
Right. So what it is your wedding rings, your wedding rings, you and your husband's, or you and your significant other's wedding rings are hanging somewhere where the guests to your weddings can hand warm your rings. Mm-hmm. Everyone touches your rings before you put them on.
Right. And you're supposed to like make a wish, a blessing, or something.
More like a blessing. I wouldn't say a wish.
Well, a wish for the couple.
Yeah.
We wish this for the couples.
Right.
I've read a couple of different ways that people do it. They also can put it in a organza type bag and pass it around to everybody. Yeah. I don't like that because somebody can lose that very easily. But it's the same thing. Everybody touches it, warms it, says, a little something to it, a promise or whatever you want to call it.
The organza bag would be a little bit better, but I understand losing the rings. Well, but if you hang it up with the organza bag, that would be great. Mm-hmm. Or even a little velvet bag so you actually don't touch the rings. I know.
She's really worried about germs.
I'm not really germophobic, but I don't like
everybody touching.
Yeah. You better not have the flu when you come to my wedding anymore.
Right. Or strep throat or something. The next one is called quilt wrapping. And it's just, basically what it says. You're wrapping a quilt around the both of you.
And this is probably an heirloom quilt.
Yes.
And it's a wedding ring quilt. It's your wedding quilt. There used to be in the early 1800s through early 1900s, that was one of your gifts, was a wedding quilt. You put it on your marriage bed.
Right.
It's supposed to promote fertility.
Of course. And keep the demons away, I'm sure.
But, I mean, that's what was on your bed at all times, was this wedding quilt that somebody made you. Mm-hmm. And I can understand. That one seems kind of nice. But it better be a big quilt.
Right. Well, most people now have
both of you, right?
A king-size bed.
Yeah,
so
it has to encompass both of you.
It does, yeah. Right. It's like a big hug.
Yeah.
Now, we have the Lei exchange, and I'm sure this comes from the islands, and even like Filipino and stuff like that. They also have leis.
So basically, it's
like a ring exchange, but it's a Lei exchange. It's not a lei, it's a Lei exchange.
It leads to a lay. Anyway, you can say you got laid.
That's right. You actually can. There you go.
Rose ceremony. So tell me about that one.
Well, that's just the rose ceremony where you exchange roses with your significant other. You can also extend it to your family, your mothers, and your
I've seen it where the guests have roses or flowers, not just roses, and the bride picks them up when she walks down the aisle and makes her own bouquet.
That's cool.
Kinda.
That's really well. I mean, I think that's neat. It's like everybody's involved,
right?
For some, I would assume you would have to have the roses processed, so you're not thorning everybody.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's just another exchange of something with significance. All the roses have some kind of a meaning, especially red, love, that kind of thing. I'm sure there's a fertility rose if you're looking for one.
And white roses or,
things like that.
Sand ceremony. There used to be you would combine sand in a jar or a vase. They have an hourglass now that you can pour sand into and use an hourglass.
I think that's kind of neat. I mean, for me, I never did get the idea of let's pour sand in this jar and then display that. I mean, it has absolutely no use in my opinion. Did you and your significant other go pick this sand up from somewhere?
Yeah. Is it from a significant place?
Right.
You're just going to put different colored sand in a jar.
Right. Like black sands from Hawaii or something,
Yeah. If it's on a trip that you went to, or maybe he proposed.
Right, exactly.
Your significant other proposed to you. That would be great. Mm-hmm. But if you're just pouring different colored sand in a jar,
it doesn't make sense to me. But an hourglass with sand from places like where you used to live or something like that, it would be better because at least you could flip it and use it for an actual timer. You know what I mean? It has some kind of use.
Everybody uses an hourglass timer nowadays.
Well, sometimes there's fun and games. But to me, that would have a little bit more meaning than just pouring in a jar.
I just think it needs to have some significance.
Yes, exactly.
And not just sand you get out of like the decorative sand you can get anywhere.
Right. Go down to Hobby Lobby and buy. Yeah, exactly. The Unity cross. Now, this was something unique that I hadn't ever seen before.
Right.
So it's a 2-piece cross that the two of you put together during the ceremony.
Right.
And then this will be displayed at your home.
Right. It's like the outline of the cross, the frame of the cross, and then your significant other or you put in the filigree part. Like it's a wood cross, and then it has like filigree patterns that you insert into the cross, and then somebody combines it together. Mm-hmm. And then it's yours forever and ever.
I think that's neat, and you can use it as a display item in your house if you like crosses.
You would think somebody would brand it or something like that with like fire.
That could be cool.
Right, your wedding date or whatever.
Yeah, that would be really cool too. I mean, you could do a lot with this. Yeah. I think.
Or you can even just like do a cross shadow box and put stuff in it.
Mm-hmm. That'd be cool too.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be wood.
Right.
Wine box love letters.
You add a bottle of wine. You write love letters to each other. During the ceremony, you hammer it closed, and then you determine an anniversary that you will be opening this and reading love letters from each other and having a glass of wine.
Nice.
It's
It needs to be a good bottle of wine.
Yeah,
so
it
it
should
won't
be.
go bad if you're like 10 years down the road.
aren't they supposed to get better as they age?
Not
Most
bad
of them.
wines.
Well, not bad wines. But, so there's different variations. Some people put rum. Some people just lock the box. They don't nail it. They also have guests sign the bottle, and so when they open it up, they can look through, that. Also, I've seen where guests put little letters and notes in there too.
Yeah. Like blessings.
Yeah.
And wishes.
Yeah, wishes. So you can use that as you'd like. Maybe you're not wine drinkers. You find something else to put in there.
Vodka. Beer would go bad.
Yeah, beer would go bad though. You wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
But
unless you're doing
something.
it like maybe a year, like your first anniversary or something like
Maybe.
that.
I don't know how long beer lasts.
Well, if it's sealed, I don't think it'll go that bad. If it's not going back from cold to hot, cold to hot, cold to hot.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, earth mixing.
I think this is kind of cool, especially for those of you that are a little more crunchy, a little more granola.
That ain't me.
What I was reading is that each of the couple brings gathered earth from places of meaning in their life. Let's say a childhood home, or like you were saying, you went on a vacation somewhere and there's sand there or something, just from different places, and they put it into the same jar, and it's kind of their mixing of their lives. Does that make
Then you're
sense?
just going to have a jar of dirt.
Exactly. It's interesting. Don't get me wrong.
I mean,
but
it would be great if you planted something in this dirt.
Exactly. You could plant something in there, or you could pour that dirt in. Let's say you buy your first home and you plant something like a bush or a tree or something, then you could use it there.
Yeah.
I think that would have more meaning.
I just wouldn't want a jar of dirt sitting around.
Right. I agree.
I know. I'm being a cynic this morning. I'm sorry.
But you got to think about it. It sounds good, but then what?
And then what do you do with it?
Exactly. Think a little further down the line.
Yeah.
I really like it if the first house you buy or build or whatever,
Yeah.
you plant something.
That would have
and
some
use that, or-
significance.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
There's an annual bridal expo coming up on May 7th, 2017. It's from 1 to 5 p.m. and it's free.
the Rustic Bride Northwest Expo will be at Dairyland near downtown Snohomish.
There will be a variety of local rustic wedding professionals such as photographers, planners, florists, caterers, and other unique rustic-themed vendors.
The expo will be full of ideas, inspiration, and expertise that will make your wedding come together beautifully.
Come and hang out with us because we're going to be there too on May 7th for all the rustic.
Plus, for the men, there's a bonfire, beer tasting, and live music.
Go to fromringtoveil.com/RBNW to RSVP.
These next two, they're variations on each other. Mm-hmm. So we've all heard about the wine blending. You put 2 bottles of wine into one.
And then you drink it.
And then you drink it. Now there's beer blending, because not all of us are wine drinkers.
That's right. But
But then, do you each get your favorite beer and blend them together? Because that would be bad.
It might be. It might be good. It might be something that you love and you keep doing for the rest of your life. No, you could do milk and Pepsi, or no, I'm just kidding.
What are you, Laverne and Shirley? What is that? And of course, half these people don't even get that reference.
Laverne and Shirley. There you go.
Gross. Milk and Pepsi.
I agree. That is gross. But yeah, would you have to like predetermine what beers you would
Yeah,
mix?
you'd have to. Because
It would
you'd
be the
have to
same with
taste
wine.
them. Yeah, you would. You would have to taste them together.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't like gag when you drink it.
Mm-hmm. This represents me. This represents him. Let's pour them together. And
I mean, I can understand different reds or a white and like a sweet red and a sweet white wine. Mm-hmm. I can't say that.
Sweet white.
Sweet white wine and a sweet red wine. Mm-hmm. Blending those together, that wouldn't be too bad. But like a stout and a wheat beer, ugh.
Maybe not. An ale and an ale, or
the summer shandy with another L, something like that. I don't know.
do some research, pre-research tasting before you do this. We recommend. That's our recommendation.
Yeah. Salt covenant.
Okay, so the Salt Covenant is an ancient covenant mentioned in the Old Testament. It's the meaning of sealing a covenant or agreement between parties. It was a required part of a grain offering, and in fact, every offering. So,
Yeah, well, salt used to be more valuable than
yes.
back then than metals. So.
Yes, it was very, very valuable. There was a close connection between salt and promises. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm thinking, I believe it's a pouring together of salt.
To combine yourselves.
Yes, it's a sealing of the commitment, kind of a handshake, if you will.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the sand ceremony. You get different colored salt.
You can.
Hey, you can get pink Himalayan and sea salt.
And black, even, black lava salt.
And just pour it all together.
So what you're supposed to do is take your 4 fingers of your right hand, dip it into water from a dish or a bowl, and then put your fingers into the salt that's provided in a separate container. Then put the salt in their spouse's mouth or on their tongue. Just before the salt is put in the mouth, you're supposed to have a saying or receive a blessing or something like that.
You could do body shots.
You could, but that kind of takes the biblical meaning out of it. So I don't know if you'd want to do that. So it's really a special. If you have 2 Christians that really are very deep Christians, then this would be a very meaningful.
If you're having a civil ceremony and you want to do body shots, then you could do 2 different kind of salts on you and lick it off and drink your tequila.
Maybe that's more for the reception.
Okay.
Anyway, so that's what the salt ceremony is all about.
A tree planting.
Yes. From what I've seen is they will bring in their dirt and a little sapling or whatever and some kind of a
during the ceremony and plant. Either you can plant it in a planter, take it with you, or you can plant it at the venue wherever you're getting married. It's just a giving of life type thing. Yeah.
Beginnings. That kind
fertility.
Of course, fertility. Stones. There's such thing as the stone ceremony. Each guest holds a stone, makes a wish for the couple, and even write on the stone if they want to, write their wish. Place it in a decorative bowl or vessel, thing like that.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. And then you can go through them when you're home and read through them. And
stick them in a vase and
you
put
could
flowers in it.
Switch them out or, all kinds of different things. So I think that's a sweet one.
Yeah. So branding. It's branding. You create your brand and then brand a new piece of wood. So you create a brand before your ceremony. Mm-hmm. You have to go see a ironsmith, a blacksmith, a furrier, something who creates brands, iron brands.
During the ceremony,
you heat up the brand.
Over the fire.
This would be good in an outdoor ceremony with a fire pit.
Yes.
You heat up the brand, you brand a piece of wood, and then you display that piece of wood in your home.
Yep. I would say even if you're building a home,
you
might use that piece of wood in it somewhere. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's your mantelpiece or something. Didn't they do that on Little House on the Prairie? He built them a big mantle and he branded it or carved in it or something.
It.
Okay.
Yeah. And Little House on the Prairie was a show when I was a little girl.
Hey, it still comes on.
It's
all the time.
All the time. And
Laura Ingalls Wilder.
And I was always Laura Ingalls Wilder because I always wore pigtails when I was a kid. That's what everybody called me. You're Laura.
Okay.
Anyway.
So I don't know if everybody's heard of feet washing ceremony. And that's a biblical thing. It's, serving each other in a way that's very intimate and
I wouldn't want to
meaningful.
Wash anybody's feet, though.
Right. Well, that's the whole point. It's a nasty job, but you do it because you're serving that person. So there's that. But there's also a hand washing.
Hand washing I could do.
Hand washing is more representative of washing away the past. You're not bringing any of that into the new marriage. You're starting anew. Old girlfriends, old boyfriends, gone. No holding of grudges. Everything's washed away. Let's start new. I like that one.
The Lovelock Tree. What is this, Kim?
Okay, so we all know about the Lovelock Bridge right over in Paris, I think it is.
Which they had to remove the locks because it got too heavy.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, geez. It's the same a concept, and you can get this metal tree made or order it or whatever, and you start it by putting your lock on there, and you could either leave it like as is, or you can have the other couples from your wedding put their locks on there too.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, I thought that was really neat too, and of course it would be displayed at your new home.
Or you could pass it down, like everybody in your, like your kids can put theirs on and their kids can put theirs on.
Exactly.
It could be an heirloom.
As long as everybody stays together, it's great. There are many, many, many more traditions from around the world. And I totally suggest finding out what your ancestry did when they got married. Mm-hmm. And think about bringing that into your wedding. What did your parents do? What did your grandparents do? Are you from England? Are you from Scotland? Do you need to do hand fasting? I mean, you can bring all this kind of unique stuff into your wedding if you want to. If that's the kind of person you are, right?
Yeah.
I think that would be fun. I think it'd be really fun.
So we'll have a link on the show notes of traditions around the world. So check that out.
FromRingToVeil.com/121. Mm-hmm. Easy to find. We have some good shows coming up. We have a really cool one about elopements.
Yes.
We will be bringing our show from the Expo. We're going to hopefully talk to some brides and grooms and some of the vendors maybe around and bring that to you as a show.
Talking about rustic weddings.
Yes.
They aren't all just mason jars anymore.
That's right.
But we will probably have mason jars there. Because I have a lot of them in stock and I need to get rid of them.
Well, it doesn't have to involve them, but it can.
Yeah.
That's the point. We have wedding light options. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about thank you to a listener who sent in the question, what about gifts for the bride and groom's parents? We're going to come up with some of those for you.
And also, if you check out our blog page this past week, we talked about details in your wedding.
Yes.
So go look at that. You can add details, things that mean something to you throughout your wedding.
And, what do you think, you guys? Do you like the blog? Are you enjoying it? Do you want more? Do you have certain things you want to see pictures of or have us write about? Do you have ideas for the podcast? Do you want us to talk about something that we need to explore a little more or haven't explored yet? Let us know. Remember, you can reach us anytime. Email us at info@fromringtoveil.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter.
Hashtag us.
Hashtag FromRingToVeil. Anywhere, we're everywhere.
And if you would like to financially support us a little bit, we would love that too.
Yes, we would very much appreciate that.
It's on our Patreon page at FromRingToVeil.com/give.
You can subscribe to us anywhere you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher. And if you have a specific podcast app that you cannot find us on, please let us know. We want to be there.
We want to be everywhere.
But the key is subscribe. Please subscribe.
And you can subscribe on our website as well.
That's right. So until next time, no stress, no worries, keep calm, and listen on.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. You can find us on Facebook, From Ring to Veil, on Twitter, @FromRingToVeil, and on our website, FromRingToVeil.com.
Music provided by bensound.com.